Let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever been surrounded by individuals whose very presence drains your energy, creates chaos, or seems to undermine your peace of mind? You may have experienced these toxic people, those who stir up negativity, sow discord, or simply bring a shadow of doubt into every conversation. It's easy to get consumed by their energy, but the real question is, how do we handle them? How do we navigate the storm without getting caught in the whirlpool? Here's the truth. Toxic people are not your problem. They are a reflection of their own struggles, fears, and insecurities. The smartest way to deal with them isn't to fight fire with fire or to stoop to their level, but to rise above it with wisdom, self-control, and clarity. You see, the key lies not in changing them, but in transforming your own response. And that, my friends, is the first step toward truly mastering the art of dealing with toxicity. The first thing we need to understand is that toxic people are often living from a place of unresolved pain. They may project their hurt, their insecurities, or their need to control the world around them. But here's the secret. Their toxicity is not your burden to carry. When you try to absorb their negativity, you only allow them to take more than their fair share. But when you refuse to internalize their poison, you retain your peace. You must create a boundary, not just a physical one, but an emotional and mental one. This is a spiritual strategy. Because peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of inner strength and clarity. You are not a passive participant in your own life. You have the power to choose how you respond. And that response will either empower or disempower you. The smartest people know this. When faced with negativity, they do not react with an equal level of bitterness. Instead, they respond with understanding. They do not allow others to dictate their mood or behavior. They are the ones who remain calm in the storm, for they know that when you are steady, you control the narrative. And when you control the narrative, you control your future. Now, I'm not saying that this is easy. It's a discipline and ongoing practice. But let me tell you this, you are worth the effort. Protecting your peace is one of the highest forms of self-respect you can show yourself. And in that self-respect, you build the foundation for a life that cannot be easily shaken by others. You choose who you allow into your circle. And that circle, my friends, must be one of encouragement, of positivity, and of growth. The power comes not from fighting the toxic person, but from empowering yourself. Don't waste your energy trying to change someone who refuses to change. Focus on your own growth, your own peace, your own success. The moment you let go of the need to control others is the moment you take full control over your own destiny. When faced with toxicity, I want you to ask yourself, what do I value most? Do I value my peace? Do I value my time? Do I value my mental clarity? Because when you do, your response to toxicity becomes automatic. You no longer entertain drama or negativity. You create a space that is too high for their lower energy to reach. You protect your boundaries not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. And here's the most profound part. The more you elevate yourself, the less you will be affected by the toxicity of others. You see, toxic people cannot thrive in an atmosphere of peace and strength. They will either transform or move on. But the beauty is that your transformation happens regardless. So I challenge you today, the next time you encounter toxicity, don't fight. Don't engage in the drama. Instead, rise above it. Protect your peace. Stand firm in your boundaries. Let the toxicity bounce off you. In doing so, you'll discover that the smartest way to deal with toxic people is not by changing them, but by changing your own response, your own mindset, and your own environment. Remember, the power is not in the hands of the toxic person. It is in yours. Don't let anyone take it from you. Here are 6 key points from the speech. Toxic people are a reflection of their own struggles. Toxic individuals often project their own pain, fears, or insecurities onto others. Their negativity is not your problem. It's a result of their inner turmoil. The power of emotional and mental boundaries. To deal with toxic people, you must establish emotional and mental boundaries. Protecting your peace is a choice, and you can control how much of their negativity you absorb. Responding with understanding and calmness. Instead of reacting with bitterness, the wise response is to maintain calmness and understanding. By staying steady, you regain control over the situation and your peace. Focus on self-respect and growth. Protecting your peace is an act of self-respect. You must prioritize your mental clarity and well-being, creating a circle of positivity and growth which toxic people cannot penetrate. Empower yourself. Don't try to change others. Don't waste energy trying to change toxic people. Empower yourself instead. Focus on your own growth and peace, knowing that when you do, their toxicity will no longer have power over you. Elevate yourself to overcome toxicity. The more you elevate your mindset and environment, the less you will be affected by toxic individuals. Their negativity will either transform or dissipate in an atmosphere of peace and strength. Toxic people often operate from a place of unresolved personal struggle. The negativity, manipulation, and emotional turmoil they bring to interactions are rarely about you. They are more often a reflection of their own internal pain and unresolved issues. When someone acts in a toxic way, it's typically an outward manifestation of what's happening inside them. They may be struggling with insecurities, fear, feelings of inadequacy, or past traumas that they haven't processed. Instead of confronting these issues directly, they project them onto others, seeking to alleviate their own discomfort by lashing out or creating conflict. This makes their toxic behavior more about their own emotional state than any true issue with the person they are targeting. Understanding this concept is powerful because it shifts the way you view toxic behavior. When you recognize that toxic individuals are simply reflecting their inner turmoil, you realize that their actions are not a personal attack on you. Instead of taking it personally, you can begin to approach them with empathy, recognizing that they are struggling in their own way. This allows you to detach emotionally from their actions, reducing the likelihood that their toxicity will affect your peace of mind. Furthermore, toxic people often behave in this way because they have not learned how to cope with their emotions in a healthy manner. Instead of addressing the root causes of their pain, they project their feelings onto others as a way of deflecting responsibility for their emotions. This pattern can be a coping mechanism that over time becomes a learned behavior. It's important to recognize that they may not even be fully aware of the damage they are causing. The need to control or manipulate situations often comes from a deep place of fear or insecurity, fear of being vulnerable, or fear of being seen as weak. By understanding that toxic people are not inherently malicious, but instead acting out of their own internal struggles, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their actions. You stop seeing their behavior as an attack and instead see it for what it is, a defense mechanism. This perspective allows you to maintain a level of compassion for them while also refusing to accept or absorb their negativity. You can choose not to engage in their drama and instead take a step back and protect your own emotional well-being. The key is not to let their struggles become your own, but to recognize the source of their toxicity as a sign of their own unmet needs, not as a reflection of your worth or character. To effectively deal with toxic people, it's essential to establish both emotional and mental boundaries. Boundaries are a form of protection that allows you to define what is acceptable in your interactions with others, while also ensuring that you do not allow their negativity to drain or control you. Without these boundaries, it becomes easy to get swept up in the chaos and manipulation that often accompanies toxic individuals. Emotional boundaries are the invisible lines that define what you will and will not allow to affect your emotional state. They act as a shield, protecting your peace and preventing the toxic energy of others from infiltrating your mind and heart. When someone tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or bring negativity into your life, having emotional boundaries means you don't internalize their behavior or allow it to destabilize your mental clarity. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally, you can maintain control and make thoughtful decisions about how to respond. This allows you to stay calm and grounded even in the face of adversity. Mental boundaries are equally important because they protect your thought processes from being influenced by others. Toxic individuals often try to manipulate others' perceptions of reality, distort facts, or push you into emotional corners to get what they want. With mental boundaries, you recognize when these tactics are being used, and you can disengage before they affect your judgment or cloud your thinking. You are able to filter what is true and what is manipulative or unproductive, allowing you to maintain a clear and focused mindset. Setting these boundaries requires self-awareness and the courage to stand firm in your convictions. It involves knowing your limits and being unafraid to assert them, even when someone might try to cross them. This is not about being confrontational or aggressive, but about taking proactive steps to preserve your well-being. You may have to say no to certain situations, walk away from toxic conversations, or limit your exposure to negative people. By doing so, you communicate to yourself and to others that your emotional and mental health are non-negotiable. Having clear emotional and mental boundaries is not just about protecting yourself from toxic people. It's also about valuing your own peace. It's a way of asserting control over your life and your environment. When you allow toxic people to enter your personal space without boundaries, you give them permission to dictate your emotions and mindset. But when you set these boundaries, you regain control of your own narrative. You create a safe and healthy space where you can thrive, regardless of the negativity that might exist around you. Responding to toxic people with understanding and calmness is one of the most powerful strategies you can use to maintain your peace and protect your energy. The natural human response when confronted with negativity is often to react, to defend ourselves, or to engage in a heated exchange. However, this only fuels the toxic cycle. The more you react emotionally to their behavior, the more power you give them over your state of mind and emotion. Instead, the key is to respond, not react, with understanding and calmness. When you remain calm in the face of toxicity, you take control of the situation instead of allowing the other person to control it. This doesn't mean you condone their behavior, but it does mean you refuse to be drawn into their drama. It requires a level of emotional maturity to not let someone else's negativity dictate how you feel or behave. This kind of response requires you to take a step back, breathe, and assess the situation objectively before engaging. By doing so, you protect yourself from the emotional roller coaster that toxic people often try to drag you onto. Understanding is also a crucial part of this response. When you begin to understand that toxic individuals are often acting out of their own unresolved issues, you stop seeing them as personal enemies and start seeing them as people who are struggling with their own battles. This understanding doesn't mean you accept their behavior or allow them to treat you poorly, but it helps you detach emotionally from their actions. You can choose to engage with compassion, knowing that their toxicity is more about them than about you. This allows you to maintain empathy without allowing their negativity to infect your peace. By responding with calmness and understanding, you also demonstrate emotional strength. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings, but rather that you consciously choose not to allow those feelings to control your reactions. You can address the situation, set boundaries, or assert yourself without succumbing to the emotional chaos that toxic people often bring. This approach disarms them because they are used to triggering reactions in others. When you don't react, you take away their ability to control the interaction, and they may eventually lose interest in continuing their toxic behavior. In essence, responding with calmness and understanding is a way to protect your peace while still engaging with the situation in a healthy, constructive manner. It's not about avoiding conflict, but about choosing to respond in a way that prioritizes your mental and emotional well-being. Protecting your peace is one of the most profound acts of self-respect you can engage in. It is a conscious decision to prioritize your well-being over the chaos or negativity that others may bring into your life. When dealing with toxic people, focusing on your own growth and peace isn't just beneficial, it's necessary. Without this focus, toxic behavior can seep into your life, affect your emotions, and derail your personal growth. But when you value your peace, you naturally begin to protect it. And in doing so, you create a healthier space for yourself to thrive. One of the key elements of protecting your peace is recognizing that you are in control of your own emotional environment. No one can make you feel something unless you allow it. Toxic people may try to manipulate your emotions or provoke reactions, but by placing value on your peace, you choose not to allow their negativity to penetrate your emotional space. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent to injustice. It simply means you do not let their toxic behavior affect your inner calm. It's about taking responsibility for your own emotional state and recognizing that you have the power to protect it. Focusing on your own growth is a natural extension of this practice. When you make your personal development a priority, you become less affected by external negativity because you are continually expanding your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Growth involves building resilience, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. With these tools, you can navigate life's challenges, especially encounters with toxic people, without losing your sense of self or peace. When you prioritize growth, you are also strengthening your ability to set boundaries, communicate effectively, and choose responses that are aligned with your highest values. In addition to emotional and personal growth, protecting your peace also involves cultivating an environment that nourishes positivity and well-being. This may mean distancing yourself from toxic people, creating space for uplifting relationships, or even reevaluating your environment, such as where you live or work. When you choose to surround yourself with positivity, you fortify your peace and create a safe haven where you can recharge and thrive. Protecting your peace is not just about avoidance, but about intentionally seeking spaces and people that foster growth, joy, and support. Ultimately, valuing your peace and protecting it is an act of self-love. It's an acknowledgement that your emotional and mental health matter and that they should not be compromised for anyone or anything. When you prioritize your peace, you make it clear that you deserve to live a life that is free from the toxicity of others. And this choice is one of the most empowering decisions you can make for yourself. The idea of empowering yourself rather than trying to change others is one of the most crucial aspects of dealing with toxic people. Too often, we fall into the trap of believing that if we can just change the behavior of a toxic individual, everything everything will improve. However, this mindset is not only unrealistic, but also disempowering. The reality is that you cannot control other people's behavior, but you can always control how you respond to them and how you allow their behavior to affect you. Empowerment begins with the understanding that your peace, happiness, and emotional state are your responsibility. When you accept this truth, you release yourself from the burden of trying to fix or change someone who doesn't want to change. Toxic people often have their own deep-rooted issues that they are unwilling or unable to address. These individuals may continue to act out of fear, insecurity, or unresolved trauma. And no amount of reasoning, arguing, or pleading will alter their behavior if they are not ready to change themselves. Therefore, trying to change them can become a never-ending cycle of frustration. Instead of wasting energy trying to control their actions or outcomes, you can shift your focus to empowering yourself. This means taking full ownership of your emotional state and actions. You have the ability to choose your responses, set boundaries, and remove yourself from harmful situations. When you empower yourself, you shift your energy away from external circumstances and towards your internal growth. You realize that your peace and well-being are not dependent on anyone else's behavior. They are entirely in your hands. Empowering yourself also involves focusing on your own personal development. The more you invest in your emotional intelligence, mental resilience, and self-awareness, the less likely you are to be impacted by toxic individuals. Self-empowerment helps you build the strength to stand firm in your values, beliefs, and boundaries. When you are clear on who you are and what you stand for, toxic people lose their power to sway or manipulate you. You no longer need to engage with their drama or negativity because you have already cultivated the inner resources to navigate these situations with grace and confidence. Ultimately, the key to dealing with toxic people is not to try and change them, but to change how you approach the situation. By empowering yourself, you reclaim control over your emotional and mental landscape. You choose not to be a victim of their behavior, but instead you decide how you will respond to them and how you will protect your energy. This shift in perspective gives you the freedom to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your peace, and your happiness. Elevating yourself to overcome toxicity is about choosing to rise above the negativity, drama, and manipulation that toxic people bring into your life. The higher you elevate your mindset, the less likely toxic behavior will have any effect on you. This doesn't mean that toxic people will suddenly change, but rather that their behavior will no longer be able to penetrate your personal space or disrupt your peace. Elevating yourself involves personal growth, self-awareness, and resilience, which all serve to make you less susceptible to the impact of toxic individuals. When you elevate your mindset, you shift your focus from external circumstances to your own inner world. Instead of being consumed by the negativity around you, you begin to prioritize your emotional health, your aspirations, and your goals. This mindset shift is key to overcoming toxicity because it means that you no longer allow toxic people to define your reality. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their own internal struggles and that it has no power over who you are or who you are becoming. Personal growth plays a significant role in this process. As you grow emotionally and mentally, you develop the tools needed to navigate life's challenges without losing your peace. You build resilience, which enables you to face difficult situations with calmness and clarity. Instead of being derailed by toxic individuals, you learn how to stay grounded in your values and remain focused on your purpose. The more you elevate your personal growth, the less you will be distracted or affected by toxic behavior, because you have developed a stronger sense of self. Building self-awareness is another crucial element in this elevation. And when you are aware of your triggers, emotions, and boundaries, you are better able to manage your reactions to toxic people. You know when to step back, when to engage, and when to protect your peace. This self-awareness allows you to stay in control of your own emotional landscape, even in the presence of toxic individuals. You are no longer a passive participant in the emotional dynamics of your life, but an active creator of your own experience. Ultimately, elevating yourself means surrounding yourself with positivity and high-energy people who support your growth. As you continue to elevate, the toxic energy around you will naturally diminish. Toxic people cannot thrive in an atmosphere of strength and peace. They either adapt to the positive environment you've created or move on. The more you elevate yourself, the less power toxic individuals will have over your life. In doing so, you ensure that their negativity no longer impacts your journey, allowing you to move forward in peace and purpose. In conclusion, dealing with toxic people is not about changing them, but about changing how you respond to them. It's about protecting your peace, setting clear emotional and mental boundaries, and empowering yourself to rise above the negativity that others may bring into your life. Understanding that toxic individuals are often a reflection of their own struggles allows you to detach emotionally and not take their behavior personally. By responding with calmness and understanding, you disarm the negativity and retain control over your emotional state. The key is to focus on your own growth and well-being rather than getting caught up in the toxicity of others. When you prioritize your own peace and develop resilience, you create an environment where toxic people lose their power to disrupt your life. Elevating your mindset and personal development ensures that you remain unaffected by the drama and manipulation that may come your way. Ultimately, when you choose to protect your peace, empower yourself, and rise above toxicity, you reclaim control over your life, your emotions, and your future. The smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to fight them, but to focus on your own journey and create a life that reflects your highest values and aspirations.